Hey, just wanted to start out by saying thank you so much for joining our webinar today. Know everybody's time is absolutely valuable and important, especially in today's wonderful, joyful, omni-channel world. There's always something that we can be doing. So really appreciate you joining in. My name is Eric Howerton. I am the founder and chief growth officer for SKU Ninja White Spider. So been here since the dawn of time of the company. And I've gotten to know a lot of you folks that are in the industry, and again, just great to connect with you again. What I'm really excited about today are the folks, the panelists that are on here with these great group of experts. There's a lot of diversification as far as perspectives go. I think you're going to learn a lot from them. And so I want to make sure that everybody gets introduced to them real quickly. Paul, I'm going to put you on the spot. And why don't you kick us off, telling us a little bit about who you are, what you do, why it's important, a little bit of background on the Walmart side, and then we'll move on to the other panelists.
For sure, yeah. My name is Paul Klaus. I'm the head of account services over here at SKU Ninja White Spider. So our team kind of handles all the execution and putting all the pieces together and helping folks get their omni-channel strategy working and humming. Prior to this, I was actually a merchant on the .com side for Walmart. So I've seen a little bit behind the curtain, and happy to be on and share what I know.
Excellent, thank you. Next, Magali, why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
Hi, I am Magali Castillo. I'm the senior shopper marketing manager here at Alcon. I work in with OTC, and I'm responsible for the way our brands show up at Walmart.
Awesome, thank you, Magali. Michael.
Hey, I'm Michael Lebar. I'm the CEO of Lebro Industries. I like to call us a small portfolio company for micro brands. So we developed a few different brands in multiple categories with really off of Amazon, but have taken an omni-channel approach to them. And more recently, we've really been pretty passionate about the growth we've been seeing on Walmart.com, and have really dove into it to master it, and expanded all our brands on Walmart.com. So I'm excited.
Awesome, thanks, Michael. And then finally, Doug.
Good afternoon, all. This is Doug Kavulich with Kiss Beauty Products, Senior Sales Director for the Walmart Kiss business. I'm located with our team in Northwest Arkansas, but today I'm calling in from beautiful New York at the Kiss corporate office. Thanks for having us.
Hey, thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. One thing I want to point out here, which is really neat, just to kind of set the tone for the different perspectives. We got Paul, who's on our team, but spent the time as a Walmart category specialist back in the day. So you got that perspective. Then you have Magali from a corporate brand perspective, which is awesome. Michael on the marketplace side, coming in from the Amazon world, jumping into Walmart marketplace and went in there. And then you got Doug on the Walmart focused 1P supplier side. So we should get a lot of great perspectives that hopefully will address any of your perspectives that are attending today, and I think you're going to really get a lot of value out of this. So to kick us off, the topic of the conversation today is about transitioning to the new Walmart.com. And when we look at this, you might remember many months ago there was a grocery.walmart and then Walmart.com, the two different complete sites. About a year ago or so, they actually brought them both into Walmart.com from a tab perspective. So at the top, you get to choose pickup and delivery, or choose Walmart.com, and you can, like you can today, toggle back and forth. But what we do know, and which is already live today and has already been live for a few weeks, available to shoppers on the front end, is a single experience for the shopper, to where they just basically go to the onewalmart.com and then they can search and discover products, whether on pickup and delivery or .com. But that's kind of in a what we'd say it's a soft launch in a beta version, so to speak, but it is live and we've seen it. And we don't know exactly when it's going to be completely the one experience for shoppers, but we do know that it's coming down the pipe. But the one important thing I want to point out about this is there's a lot of changes going on from Walmart's perspective, right? I think that as suppliers and sellers, we all know this very well. The evolution will not stop. It certainly is not going to slow down. So the question of the day is, how do suppliers and sellers continue to evolve with these rapid changes. And what's this experience going to do to impact the way that we do business and how we sell products, to how we win search, to what kind of content, a lot of different questions, even paid search as well. So really stoked about getting in there and getting the perspective from all our panelists. And as we know, change is the only certainty at Walmart. And so with that being said, I want to kick it off again. Paul Klaus, you're my icebreaker for the day. So congratulations. You're welcome. I'd like to start out with the first question to you. What are your top line thoughts or opinions about Walmart's new platform, new site experience? What are your top thoughts and opinions about that? And how do you think it's going to affect suppliers and sellers?
Yeah, so happy to go first. When I think about it, I think it's kind of everything's was settled. We all had a pretty good handle on what we were doing. And now it's all getting mixed around and tossed up in the air a little bit. I come at it and say that's a great thing. That's opportunity. As Walmart kind of like further streamline, further go omni-channel, this is just another opportunity for, if you weren't doing well in search, things are going to change. There's opportunity to be a first mover and take advantage of those changes. And if you were doing well, find somewhere else you can do even better, right? When I think about it in terms of, what's really going to top line, what should we be looking at? From a merchandising perspective, the look of the site and the way pages are displayed, items are displayed is changing. So we got to change with that and make sure that we're giving a really good experience to the customer. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of it, it's, much more tactical around now that the search grid is changing and grocery items are being brought into search that maybe didn't have grocery items before. We'll see a change in shopper behaviors and a change in kind of how you have to position yourselves and advertise. So yeah, I guess at the top line, I think it's everything's getting thrown up a little bit, and that's a good thing. So
yeah, where there's threat, there's always opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Right. Or where there's weakness, there's always strength. So yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of things to consider, and we're going to kind of peel back the curtain a little bit on some of those specifics. But Magali, I think it'd be neat to understand from your perspective, what are some of your top level thoughts and opinions about it?
Yeah, so I think I've mentioned before on some of our calls is that there are definitely some pros and cons to, this new structure or platform that Walmart is going to. Obviously, from the pro side, it's going to be an easier way for consumers to find and purchase products. So they're trying to simplify and do more of a direct purchase. So you're not going to one platform or the other. And it's actually no matter where that inventory lives in Walmart's ecosystem. Some of the cons, though, from a marketing perspective, is that we're already seeing less opportunity to advertise. So you have to start thinking a little bit more strategically on, where you want to show up, who your target audience is. And then obviously, like Paul said, is finding out and learning a little bit more about how the shopper, changes in their behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent points. I think that, when you talk about that experience with what the shopper's experiencing, the ability to discover more items, I mean, that's one of the big key things, right? I mean, they're going to be introduced and we'll be able to see in one place all the options that Walmart really brings to their customer. I mean, that's a really huge deal. Hey, Michael, what are your thoughts coming from a third-party perspective? What do you see opportunities or threats for you?
So I think from a marketplace, from a third-party perspective, it's the most opportunity because firstly, obviously there's more traffic coming to where marketplace sellers are, to where 3P sellers are. So there's more of an advantage there. 3P sellers also, in essence, have always really had to nail down search and grid and strategies and tactics to be able to rank high in search and grid. So it gives them a bit of a competitive advantage to not just keep ranking higher in current Walmart.com, but with the added traffic, it'll mean more. Yep. So we look at that as a good opportunity. And I think just because of the landscape that there's going to be, there's way more opportunity from a 3P seller side now that now that 1P and 3P are, so to say, treated a little bit more the same, I think it gives marketplace sellers a little more of an opportunity. You kind of see how Amazon went in that path, where Amazon vendors and 3P sellers used to be treated very separately, and they sort of, merged it more together, and they made it became more of like, I like to call it equal opportunity. So for marketplace sellers, that's exciting.
Yeah, and Michael, in some previous conversations, what I think is just neat from a market third-party standpoint is you're now not only going to have additional, obviously, traffic from the OPD, the pickup and delivery side of things, but that intent with those shoppers is going to be different, right? I mean, they have a different intent at going to Walmart and choosing pickup and delivery, but those are going to be meshed together, and your items and your products are going to be exposed to those folks.
And I think that's really important for 3P sellers, because those shoppers are used to buying from brands they know and brands they trust and national brands. So for 3P sellers, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to kind of build that trust and build that consumer trust, and get them to trust a new brand and new products. Amazon customers they're used to buying from private label brands and brands that they've never heard of, based on reviews and based on just what comes up high in search. Walmart customers, especially coming from the pickup and delivery side, are not as accustomed to that. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but there's ways to overcome that. So
yeah, no, I appreciate that. Hey, Doug, what about you? What are your top level thoughts?
Well, I think coming from a direct 1P supplier here in the beauty space, to that point that you're on, is as a direct supplier, when we talk about Walmart.com in one silo and then OGP, online grocery pickup, I know from a merchant standpoint at Walmart, you obviously want to grow both of them, right? That's obvious. But with an emphasis being placed now from senior leadership and merchants at Walmart to really grow online grocery pickup or OGP, I think there's a ton of opportunity there, depending on your widgeted category, but definitely in the beauty space, where we index pretty low, at least for now. As we go forward, to combine those, make it more consolidated, make it simpler in pulling reports, and then really bring those two segments of how to order from Walmart under one umbrella, but growing both of them equally. So I think from a 1P standpoint, it's exciting. I'm sure there'll be growing pains, but at the end of the day, on the long term, I know it can grow the business better.
Yeah. Doug, you said something pretty critical from a 1P supplier at Walmart side, right? Relationship with your merchants. What are your merchants wanting? What's the merchandising team really wanting the suppliers to do? How do they participate in omnichannel? And I know that from our previous conversations, you've done quite a bit of work and a lot of effort in taking seriously about just the content quality that you have with your items at Walmart. Can you expand on that a little bit about what your experience has been and what you found that's been useful and kind of, I think one good point would be is how does that make you feel with, further evolution and requirements from the merchant teams?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, Eric, for everybody, because being a person that's worked with Walmart for 15 plus years, I've never really been so excited about a concept as working together with Kiss Products, White Spider, and Walmart. And the reason is, when you look at, this is just one pillar, but an important pillar is that quality content score. Here we are, Kiss Beauty Products, mid-size but strong size company. We have over 200 SKUs, let's call it. Okay, before we started working with White Spider on quality content, of those 200 SKUs, we had about 9 SKUs that had over a 95 score. So we'll call that a grade of an A, 70 up to 100. So fast forward to just 8 months later, and of course, this is a continuous process. We now have about 110 SKUs that are grading at a 95 score and higher on the quality content score. So I wanted to talk about that, as that's truly the foundation of the e-commerce relationship with Walmart, because then that allows you for the next step. That's the platform, that's the building block of the house, so to speak. Where then when we go into Walmart Connect new programs, their marketing arm, Walmart's marketing arm, and e-commerce that I'm sure we all know, that's going to allow you to not waste those dollars, to maximize your investment with Walmart through White Spider, and make sure those promotions are effective. And you can't go anywhere until those that platform and those building blocks are established. So This is something that, as we all know, is a continuous work in progress. It's never ending, but it's also exciting, as particularly in our category space, we want to grow and have to grow that .com share versus brick and mortar stores. And we will continue to do that. It may take some time, but at least we put the pieces in place and the foundation to drive that forward. So that's how I'd explain that.
That's good, Doug. I appreciate that. And, I would like to, from a Walmart merchant perspective, right? And we see this across multiple categories that we work directly with Walmart on. Paul, I'd love to have you kind of maybe give your take on it, being that you were a Walmart category specialist. When the merchant teams are looking at an omni-channel experience for the shoppers, right? And obviously omni-channel includes store and the digital merchandising side of the experience. Knowing that there's going to be even more synchronization of site and platforms, that shoppers will have more exposure from a digital search, discoverability, conversion, all those things, whether the final transaction happens in store, pickup, delivery, or whatever it might be. We know that the significance and importance of good content, attribution, expanded content, detailed content, all that kind of stuff is highly important. And those scores are a measurement, right, that Walmart gives for those. So from a merchant perspective, can you tap back in your past and maybe give a little glimpse as to what your perspective was when you're sitting behind the desk there, and why that was important for Walmart's vision?
Yeah, I think there's two parts to it. One is more and more we have evidence that shoppers, even when they're buying in store, online is part of that journey. Whether they're in the aisle, anything that's like a pricier purchase, think vacuums, they're in the aisle, they're pulling those pages up and they're looking and they're checking before they make that purchase. It's considered, even though maybe the transaction happens in store, the online presence is a big component of getting to that purchase. So that's kind of like the framework, where even though, some of the omni merchants, maybe a lot of them are primarily store focused, more and more that's less of a line. And that kind of goes to the whole omni transition, but even with the customer, there's less of a line. It's not different people shopping online and in store. And so when you bring back to the quality scores, that's kind of, to Doug's point, like the first step, that's the building block. And when you're sitting in seat, you're kind of looking at it as, okay, of all of my vendors, who is a problem for me? Who is someone that needs, a push to actually get in the problem and fix this? And my primary concern is just, can this person actually do what is required to help grow this category, which is kind of that excellence online? And then who is a partner? So folks who already have that on lock, that's completely, they have great content, they have great scores. Past that, they're style guide compliant, and they're running campaigns on social, driving to product pages, and kind of really in like a fully evolved digital strategy. Now you're looking at that person, and the conversation's not, kind of beating down the door saying, hey, you have to take this seriously. This is someone who can help me. This is someone where I can partner, and it can be a give and take, and like we can work to grow that business. And I kind of want to link it back to something Michael said, because he said it a little bit in passing, but it's not something that was immediately obvious to me. And he mentioned it to me before, but with the grocery site merging, that's a substantial chunk of traffic that is now going to be kind of ungated. So before, that was in sort of this walled garden of it can only buy things that are in store. And now, even if they're shopping for grocery, they're on a platform where they can get things outside of that in-store assortment. Which all just kind of ties together, I think, to like, you really have to have your presence nailed down and be a good partner, both for the customer and for Walmart. Because the opportunity is huge. That's folks that were going to buy eggs, a lot of them are going to leave with something else that isn't grocery as well. So,
right.
Yeah, does that?
Yeah, no, I mean, it kind of goes along with just Walmart's experience in store, like they've always done since it started, right? I mean, the variety of products that you have, and that's why there's aisles and and end caps and all that kind of stuff that are that they're trying to expose you to more assortment, even though you're coming in to get eggs. What else can you pick up along the way? Magali, I think, were you about to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I actually wanted to touch on a little bit of what Doug and Paul said as we're creating these building blocks and trying to, develop a campaign on how we're going to show up at Walmart. We on my side of business, we think about all the partners we could leverage and think of them as strategic partners and get them involved. So when we're doing digital marketing with Walmart Connect, we ask them to be transparent. It's not, we don't know what we don't know. So when we think of them as strategic partners, we said, hey, look at our plan, look at our objective. Let us know, is there anything else coming down the pipeline that we need to be aware of? What are your other suppliers doing that we aren't leveraging, and so forth? And there is opportunity to bring in, SKU Ninja and White Spider, because we've done that on the search component. So it's broadening who we're conducting those, bringing in to help create that digital campaign. So it's not just Walmart Connect. It's, again, SKU Ninja, White Spider, getting our sales component perspective on how to build a robust plan. So I just wanted to add that on to the building blocks, that it's not always just marketing and Walmart Connect. It encompasses various, people.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually want to kind of hang out there for a second, Magali, because we have some major brand suppliers that are on here as well. And I'm sure some folks that work with the corporate teams. Look, as each retailer changes requirements and specifications, right? There's a lot to handle from a corporate level perspective. What do you think from your experience have been, I know you touched on it just now a little bit, but how do you manage that from a high level, all these different, clients that you have?
All right, so Eric, I'm a party of one when it comes to shopper marketing here at Walmart with the Alcon business. So yeah. You're right. I think things have evolved tremendously when it comes to the e-commerce space, and just being upfront with either Walmart Connect or even you guys, and really leveraging your expertise. So when I'm building a plan, it's not just me. It's, hey guys, you guys are the experts. I need your help in this because, me being a party of one and not having the resources on my side or even the bandwidth, I have to leverage people like, you and Paul and, the extended team to help not only build a campaign, but keep track of it as well. I have other day-to-day activities. And so it's great to have you guys as a partner to be able to actually dedicate those resources to help us with, the target audience or the search terms and so forth.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It seems like as the world, as really the whole digital experience, the behaviors really of our shoppers today, it becomes, there's a lot of tentacles that reach out and expertise and specializations from multiple firms, right? We don't obviously do everything under the sun with it, but we're specialized. And I think that's really important, Magali. It's a good point. I feel like that's going to be very valuable for our attendees to gain some more confidence. And that's a great strategy that works, and I tell you, like, what I want to know, Michael, from you, right? You're Amazon seller, have been for years. You built a successful business. You see the opportunities coming in at Walmart. You're used to what Amazon's needing and wanting from a content, styling and whatever it might be. It's a completely different race that's going on there. Now you come into Walmart, and Walmart has different parameters and expectations, right? Because they're an omni-channel retailer. Tell us a bit about that experience and what you've discovered on how you can build your team to, or what you depend on to really expand within the Walmart ecosystem for content.
Yeah, so for us, it's pretty exciting because as Amazon sellers, you have to live up to a certain standard with content in order to even have a chance. So, it's not as, Amazon's really not as price focused. It really comes down to how good your listing is, how good your content is. So really being able to transition that into Walmart has been a pretty good opportunity. What I think is great is because Walmart's leveling up what they require from, quality scores, what they require from your content. I think it elevates the marketplace, which has an effect on the customer experience, which in essence is good, is good for the brand, is good for just for all sellers, because customers have a better experience, more people buy. So I think it's really good that they're putting a lot of an emphasis on how good your content quality is. And even though Amazon's always put an emphasis on it, it's been much more, Amazon's always been much more from like an SEO perspective, and everything's been much stronger focus on SEO. I'm seeing Walmart really put more focus on the content, which is exciting because number one, it means as sellers and as brands, you have more of an opportunity to really invest in those things because they're going to have more of an effect. But also, there's really good opportunities to do it. So, for example, even just small transitioning to your copy, using keyword tools to just understand what to put in your copy, and balancing like from an optimization level, but from an optimization perspective to also like a high converting perspective. So you'll see a lot of times, sellers, especially on Amazon, they'll put these really big titles. Walmart, that's not good for conversion rate, and Walmart doesn't reward that. So in that, people are just creating higher quality listings, which is better for the customer experience. But I think obviously the best, one of the best opportunities is rich media. So coming from an Amazon background, they have something called A+ content. A+ content, allows you to have nice descriptions with good details. And as private label sellers, you really need that to be able to build brand trust and customer loyalty. And being able to do that on Walmart means you can just, if you have a good approach to it, you can just transition your content effectively onto Walmart and onto your Walmart pages. And just throughout the page, there's so many different things you could do from, and you could be creative about it. That's what I love most. There's way less limitations with Walmart as opposed to Amazon. So you could put videos within your descriptions, which is amazing. Like you could we come up with different ways to use like FAQs. Like one example is we'll use some SKU Ninja's tool to tell us what questions people are asking. Look on Google what questions people are asking. And then we'll have an influencer, a micro influencer, do a video response to that question. And we've seen that work really well by a couple of listings, and we're trying to ramp that up for more listings. So I think it's, knowing there's always really good ideas with content and always really good things you could do, but not all the time do you get rewarded properly for it. And marketplaces don't always reward you properly for it. So knowing that Walmart rewards you properly for it is great. And I think it makes a lot of sense for really any sellers. I think from the 1P side, sellers are going to have to, 1P vendors are going to have to do much more of that, because the 3P merchants that are coming in, a lot of them are Amazon sellers, and they're all going to be doing that. But from the 3P merchants perspective, like you want to take a little more of a creative approach to it because you're going to get rewarded for it.
Yeah, I remember, Michael, when we first met, you signed up because you were wanting to get rich media onto Walmart's platform, right? And I remember when we first met, I started showing you kind of all the things that you can do at Walmart, and you were pleasantly surprised and pretty excited. And you had a lot of those assets ready to go from the Amazon side. And so it's just a matter of deploying assets over and getting them published. But you've definitely been a champion on the expanded rich media section. So that really helps out. I mean, when we say content so backing up, when we're saying, the experience will be seamless and be one place, the shopper is going to be exposed to more products on both 1P and third party side, right? So everyone's going to gain from a little bit more exposure and discoverability. It really winds down into, okay, if we as a supplier seller are opened into that landscape, how do we really, get ahead of the curve, right? Number one, we want to show up higher in search results for keywords that matter to our items. And then second, when the shopper clicks on that and they land on the product detail page, that's your moment of conversion, right? So we got discoverability, search optimization, and conversion. I'd like to kind of hang out in that a little bit on the, starting out with the optimization side. The search grid is going to be broadened out. There'll be more competition. How does a supplier or seller participate in that? How are you going to try to get to the top, and what's going to be important from your perspective on that? Paul, why don't we kick it off with you and see if you have any thoughts?
Yeah. So something I love about kind of like Michael's take on this, is that I feel like a lot of times we talk a lot about SEO and systems and kind of the tech aspect of it. But you do have to tie it back to, there's a human being on the other side of that who's your shopper, and they need to get there. They have to have a good experience, and they have to have trust. So I just want to like keep that in the background as we talk through SEO. Like, it's not worth doing something that's going to be a terrible shopper experience. Like, if it gets you to the top of the search grid, but it's awful, that's not what you want to do. But what you do want to do is really try and think through where do you live in both Walmart systems and in like how Walmart views the world and how they view their website, and then where do you live with how the shopper views the world. So everybody generally knows, what is my category, but in my experience, not everyone's correct, especially on the marketplace side where it's a little bit less defined than it is in the 1P world. So I encourage everybody, like, as this search grid gets going, look around site and try and find your like items, and then look at those items and see how are they positioning themselves. Because all the time, we'll see people say like, oh, I'm a healthy snack. That's what I am. But they're a chocolate product, right? And so that's what they're positioning as a healthy snack. That's something they can do. It's something that makes sense for their shopper. But Walmart's not going to view it as a healthy snack, so they're going to put you in with the chocolate products, and you're not gonna end up being put where you want to be, if that makes sense. So it's really about trying to understand where is your shopper on Walmart, and then how do I change or kind of reconfigure what I am in the Walmart systems and Seller Center and M360 to match what Walmart would want to show to those shoppers, if that makes sense. So you kind of have to like understand that shopper journey and then piece that together with how the Walmart search works and kind of how everything is bucketed out. And that's how you're going to be able to target and actually get put where you want to be.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Paul, you bring up a good point. So from a 1P perspective, what we do on my side is we actually look to the brand and see who their target is, who that shopper is, and then you have to actually overlay that with the Walmart shopper and how they search and so forth. And I keep bringing this up, but you guys are the expert on SEO, and so with limited resources on my end, I've really leveraged the partnership with you guys to help manage that for us, so that way we're pivoting in real time. Because you're right, the way that we show up in even title descriptions, which seems to be so benign, but it's so extremely important because it affects the way you are within the search grid. Being able to optimize and change that really quick with your team has helped our content quality scores, and then the way we show up on the search grids.
And Eric, if I could
Please.
jump in there, sorry.
Yeah, please.
To Magali's point there now and earlier, we've come up with a term here when we're working together. It's really total asset management. And if you think about that, it's all the components. It's your sales team, your marketing team, your products, the merchants, your creative team, if you're lucky enough to have one. It's a whole larger business of everything from soup to nuts to work together from A to Z. And I just wanted to get that in that I wasn't able to get in earlier, that, Magali really hit a point on that it is a never-ending process that really includes all the stakeholders in your company and every department, plus Walmart, plus the 1P, plus White Spider, to really make this effective. And I just wanted to emphasize that.
Doug, I'd like to point out, the word asset, right? Total asset. As the industry has really evolved over the years, where assets, Miguel, you probably know this really well, right? A lot of creative video to imagery to, feature call outs, et cetera. But what we've seen from this rapid increase within Walmart is what is also an asset to an item are attributions. the detailed merchandising mechanics of a specific item, including, dietary restrictions and even sustainability, things of that nature, in colors and flavors, et cetera. So I would say that when you say total assets, right, management on that, I mean, it's broadening out to what exactly are all the assets. And that's what's going, having that perspective as a seller and supplier, I think will really achieve a lot of success as we continue to experience the evolution of Walmart. Because that search grid, and Michael, you might want to make a comment on it, but I mean, when you type in a keyword phrase, or even if you're navigating within Walmart, if that algorithm doesn't recognize that your product matches that search phrase, or that when I'm navigating through the Walmart's navigation, if that algorithm's not recognizing your product belongs with that, then you're not showing up.
Yeah, on that point, something that we've realized also is, Magali covered this a little bit, is I think in order to be successful, you're gonna have to come up with an approach of how you handle each portion of this, because there's so many different things you could work on. But it really starts with, like, for us, it really starts with making sure that we are showing up for those terms. So that's like the basics. But once we're showing up for those terms, like, there's a lot of things you could do for conversions. And Paul covered this a little bit, is you could get ranked really high by SEO tactics, and there's always more of them that come out. But the truth is, if you don't follow the other components and your listing isn't really good from a conversion rate standpoint, you're just going to drop. And this happens on Amazon for years, and there's always new tactics that come out that you could rank to the page 1, but if your listing isn't really good, you're just going to drop. And now that Walmart's putting more emphasis on conversion rate, and that has a big impact in rank, you want to put more focus on that. And something I like doing is, there's good things. I like looking around Walmart, seeing what competition's doing, but something that you could even do is really look on Amazon. Some of these products on Amazon, their revenue they're bringing in is ridiculous, and they've been around for years. And so they've constantly worked on their listing for things that are the same across Walmart. For example, their hero image, how they position their hero image, how much space it takes up, things like, how they talk about the product, what they put in their EBC, which is the same thing as feature sets on Walmart, things like that. If you take concepts from that, there's listings on Amazon for resistance bands that are doing $6 million a month. You look at listings like that, and through 3P merchants that don't have a brand or anything like that, you look at listings like that, there are some things you could take from that. So we like to just, look at other products, see what we could take from that. And then also just think about from a conversion rate standpoint, like what are you going to do? So what are you most likely to click on? What's going to make you click on it? And there's obviously simple things like, you want to make sure that you have certain badges, your review count, things like that. But we like to think of it phase by phase, like what's going to make the shopper actually choose us over everybody else on the page. Once they come to our page, what's going to be the highest chance that they're going to scroll down past the above the fold, past the key features and the images. Once they get past there, how do we make sure that they actually learn about the product and then maybe want to read the reviews, and then what's the best chance they're going to actually add the cart? So if you think about phase by phase, you could understand how to approach each phase.
What I love about that comment, Michael, is if you can look at this multiple different ways. Okay, I'm going to approach it is how do I win top level search rank for every keyword phrase and making sure I'm always showing up at the highest. Or you can look at it from the other view of how do I convert the most as absolutely possible within my product page. Doesn't matter how anybody gets there, but when they get there, they don't have any questions in their mind. My product page at Walmart has told the absolute best story of this item. There's nowhere to back out to find more information. So I really appreciate that perspective, because that's kind of how I've seen you approaching it, right? Coming from Amazon, the value and the power of the product detail page, the importance of storytelling. And so you've kind of approached it that way to where if anybody lands on this page, they should convert, because they're not going to go find anything better anywhere else, really. And so you really invested in that. And, and I think that that's important. And Magali, I'm going to throw this at you. When we look at, so there's two ways to gain traffic. One's organic, one's paid. But, if you're in the Walmart Connect and you're paying to play, right, for certain keywords, whatever, how important is it, do you believe, that when you pay for that position and the shopper clicks, that you are converting on that product page.
Oh my gosh, extremely important. I can't tell you how many times we've missed the ball, in setting up plans. So that's why, we've expanded on actually gaining insight and perspective from Walmart Connect. Because, as marketers, we tend to think that we get it right the first time, but we've pivoted along the way and we've changed the way we show up. And, being first is extremely important as a 1P seller. I also wanted to, touch on this whole total asset thing component. Coming from a shopper marketing world, we tend to work very closely with our brand managers in the content that they actually build. So as a 1P supplier, I just wanted to throw a watch out there that the content that brand gets approved through regulatory and legal, we call it a MAP review. It's a material approval process. Not only checks the box for them, even though they have all this great total content that we could leverage, we then actually have to take that through a re-review to ensure that our reviewers are okay with us promoting that content on account platforms. More specifically would be, for this one would be Walmart. So just to watch out there, because that could tend to delay your timelines with how you want to show up first, because there's always somebody else out there, with a dedicated resource to be the first. So I know I went out on a tangent. I just wanted to make sure I touched base on, on what Doug had mentioned about total assets.
No, I mean, that's very much appreciated because, it seems to be getting more and more complex and a lot more to do as and especially as retailers expand their requirements, right? Any one of them might be changing at any time. And it's just that process, how to be efficient internally to delivering content.
Exactly.
Speed, right? It's a challenge. And I think that, one thing on the conversion side, on that paid side, right? We do know that, to Michael's point, the algorithm for search rank is definitely favoring an item page that is converting well, right? So if we zoom out and look at it from a retailer perspective, if I'm sending a shopper to a specific item, right? I, as Walmart, have my competitors, whether it's Kroger or Amazon or whoever it might be. I want my shopper to find what they're looking for and make a purchase on my property before they just open up another tab and go to my competitor. So it's super crucial for Walmart to have high conversion rates. And so when we think about that, certainly Walmart's got to put a heavy weight and measurement against that, right? And Michael, to your point, right? If you're converting at a high percentage rate, it should enhance your search position. And Magali, your point, if you're using, a great partner like Walmart Connect to pay for placement, and then you convert at a high percentage rate, they're all going to help you out on the front side of discoverability, right? And so I think it's just really important to keep that in mind and keep that perspective and that lens on at all times, especially again with the total asset management, right? I mean, there's just a lot to this. One thing that I know that some of our attendees are probably wondering about is a little bit about shopper reviews and ratings and things of that nature. I would love to get some perspective from any one of you just about, shopper reviews and what have you done to enhance those things and promote that?
I'm from Amazon background, so like reviews are basically your lifeblood. Like if you have reviews, you make sales. If you don't, you don't make sales. With Walmart, it's been kind of interesting because they obviously don't have as much an effect as on Amazon. On Amazon, they're really judging you. Most people don't know the brands they're buying from or know the products, know the sellers or anything like that. They're mainly judging from you from a product review standpoint, not really a seller account review standpoint. So, but on Walmart, you're starting to see it have more and more of an effect. And the way, kind of what I approached earlier is think about what's going to make you most likely have a customer click on your product and then purchase your product, one of the things, there's a few things that show up, right? So it's like the hero image. We break it up to the hero image, your shipping badge, if you have the WFS icon, your pro seller badge, if you have a pro seller badge, but obviously reviews. If you have a low review count, that will impact impressions to click. So having, number one, if you have high reviews and a high review count, a high review number, you're going to get more impressions to click. But we also look at it from a perspective that if you don't have any reviews on your product and then you get one negative review, your impressions to click are going to be terrible, because you have, and you'll see this, 3 stars, 2 stars, whatever, if it's one, even though it's one review, people aren't going to even click to see what that is. And it could be that the review was, my shipment came late, or I didn't want this. It doesn't make a difference. You're not going to get the impressions to click. So we approach it from a standpoint of, number one, keep your products at safety, meaning like if we're going to put money behind our products to get them ranked, or effort behind our products to get them ranked, we want to make sure there isn't something that will right away ruin our opportunity. And that's one of the things, having a negative review come on and ruin your listing. Number two is going further than that and optimizing it. There's by enhancing your review rate and, you know, making sure you get more and more reviews, you'll have more competition. You'll stand out more with your competition. So for some of our products, like in some categories, we'll have 500, 600, 700 reviews that are just left by Walmart customers, and our competitors have, 10 reviews. They'll be selling really well, but then they get 1 or 2 negative reviews, and then they'll drop off because people aren't clicking on them as much. So they're definitely important, and they're going to start having more and more and more of an impact as consumers have more options. So.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Appreciate that. And real quick to all the attendees, please submit any questions you have. We got about 10 more minutes. I'm just going to continue to roll in, and any questions that come out, we'll try to address those. But, I would say that one of the specific questions was, do ratings reviews really affect the content quality score that Walmart uses to measure the quality of content? Yes, the answer is yes, they do. But there's also, I would say that the weight of those is probably not as significant, kind of to Michael's point, right? He talked about the hero image, talked about titles, descriptions. Those things matter. Attribution matters a lot, right, with Walmart. And, a lot of that's because, Walmart is really trying to make sure that they really understand that item, like we talked about before, because conversion rate is so important. If they deliver an item to a certain keyword phrase and it's not relevant in what the shopper's looking for, their conversion rate goes down. So kind of think about those things, but definitely should always expect that that shopper ratings and reviews are making an impact on the confidence of a shopper making a purchase for you. Michael, you brought up something, Walmart fulfillment services, right? And so, this does relate to the new, a new single site experience for the shopper, right? When we're talking about distribution, fulfillment, and things of that nature. And Paul, I know you might have some perspective on it. What do you, Paul, I'll start out with you. What do you think that looking at the one seamless experience in the future, how important is fulfillment going to be just in general? And does WFS play any key role in that?
Yeah, WFS it's a huge change in the landscape of Walmart.com. I know it's been par for the course for some time on Amazon, and I think that's part of it. Consumers are more and more coming to see 2-day shipping as more of a requirement than oh, that's awesome, I can get it in 2 days. It's really seems to be that it's shifting more towards what do you mean I can't get this in 2 days? So we've had clients where we've seen, like, as WFS comes out and more people get involved in it, the click-through onto their listings dropping dramatically. And when we really dig into it, it's because we look at what they're showing up next to on the search grid, and everyone's in WFS, they have 2-day shipping, and our client didn't. And so we've seen it in multiple places where it's just, as more people who you are getting compared against get the ability to do 2-day shipping, you become less and less attractive, not even because they don't want your item, just because you can't get it to them in a amount of time that is competitive with who you're being shown next to. Which I think is really pertinent for, a lot of first party suppliers have started selling DSV kind of as a way to have an extended assortment. And in my experience, those ship times are significantly longer, more in the 6-day range, the value shipping range, than what WFS is launching. So as more and more marketplace sellers are moving into that program, I think that actually gives them a leg up because they're leveraging Walmart's supply chain as opposed to having to put together their own supply chain. So super important, really big change, and something I think, we're still in the early days of. So if increasing your ship speed is not on people's mind, I think it needs to be, or else you're going to get left behind.
Wow. So there's some opportunities for first party. I mean, especially first party suppliers, and been working with Walmart for a long time, right on the brick and mortar logistics side. I mean, the whole .com fulfillment and is a little bit newer, I would say, from the standard business model. But so what you're saying is that faster delivery times, shipping times, fulfillment times is going to be playing a big role as we see that convenience of the shopper coming down the pike from Walmart.
Yeah, I think the importance is only growing. Like I said, it's actually fairly new in this marketplace, and we're already seeing a big impact from it. So,
thanks, Paul. Appreciate that. So, does anybody have any follow-ups to that particular topic?
Yeah, so for WFS, for us, I would say it's probably like the second biggest thing we pay attention to. So we were in the first batch of 3P sellers to be in the WFS program. So I've watched the program very closely as it evolved. And the way I always tell my team is, because they always hate me, that we have to send a lot of inventory into Amazon, but now we also have to send to WFS. And we have thousands of SKUs. Like our main account has 1,000 private label SKUs. Our other one has 2,700. And it could be a big fulfillment, responsibility. But the way we look at it is, number one, the WFS badge is very prominent. We used to see, when we were the only sellers that had it on a lot of our search result pages, we were getting a ton of clicks, more than everybody. Now that everybody else has it, it's, as Paul said, it's more just to even stay relevant. So the point I covered before is getting the impressions to click. The WFS badge really helps with that. Having them actually add your product to cart and really purchase it makes a big difference when they're going to get the product and they see that date there on your product page. So we've seen a big impact with that. Another thing is the buy box. Like we have people jumping on our listings all the time. And then, if you have a WFS, it's a better chance to get the buy box. They even say that on their site, that it's a better chance you're going to get the buy box with WFS. And I think, to Paul's point, like it will become a necessity. You can't sell product really now on Amazon without being Prime. Like it's really almost impossible, at least on a competitive level. We have products that go out of stock and we do merchant fulfilled, and our sales are maybe 5%. So we'll start seeing that more and more of a necessity. But the way I look at it is, it's anyway going to become a necessity. So why not onboard now when you have an advantage, and it will give you a competitive advantage, because you're going to anyway have to do it later on. So onboard now, get that extra ranking, bite the bullet, and then you'll gain from it. So we love WFS.
I agree with that, Michael. And I can't help but think, like, one principle that I always try to use, when I advise to suppliers or sellers, is I always like to think about it from Walmart's perspective, right? They have a tall order to charge to omni-channel leader. So the merchant teams or Walmart, content acquisition teams, the business side are all kind of hitting suppliers and sellers with these new things that are coming up, right? And when Walmart Fulfillment Services, for example, rolls out, well, what's the point of that? Why would Walmart even introduce such a thing? Why are the changes happening at Walmart Connect? What's the integration of these sites? The whole topic we're talking about today. I think that if what I've experienced as suppliers, and I don't want to call you out, Doug, but like I've seen, you and I've talked plenty of times, and I've seen we've walked this road together for quite some time. As you listen to what's going on at Walmart and reacting to that and being progressive, staying on top, and being able to really, react and stay ahead has been beneficial. And I think it comes back to, really that relationship you have with Walmart as a first party supplier, right? And demonstrating investment and growth towards that omni-channel perspective. Is there anything you can add, Doug, that you see as a brand, a first party brand to Walmart on the adaptability of your brand?
You know, there's a lot I could say to that, Eric, but I would say that to your earlier comment there, that get on board and be an early embracer and early adopter. You know, I really look back as I was fortunate to that total asset management. We talk about that, you know, my manager, my company, all my stakeholders at the company, including the local team, got in on this project early and have embraced it. And of course, the unknown can be scary and painful, but once you work through that and understand just the importance of e-commerce and working specifically with Walmart as a supplier, whatever your widget or category is, that, you know, dive in with 2 feet, learn, ask a lot of questions, lean on anybody you can within your stakeholder group, and just keep moving forward with it, because now we're seeing some of the end result of it in the never-ending loop, productivity loop, so to speak. And it'll keep going further with the Walmart Connect programs, then the ROI from that, and what other brands or categories can we do. So that would just be, you know, final words of advice is, however you can do it with the resources you have, is dive in with both feet and attack it, because you want to be on the front end rather than being pulled in, dragging, kicking, and screaming.
It's good stuff, Doug. I appreciate that. Magali, I'd like to ask if you have any final comments and encouragement to our wonderful attendees today.
Well, encouragement about what? About partnering with you guys, about the platform.
Just about the platform and how to stay in the evolution of things, and what you've experienced as being positive with your proactive abilities.
Yeah, well, I mean, my experience with you guys, I mean, I know I keep bragging about you all, but partnering with you all has really brought tremendous value to how we show up on .com. Our content quality scores have improved, and I wouldn't even say over, you know, it's been less than 6 months. Our company is moving to total e-com, right? So the way we show up is extremely important for our products, and making sure that we are bringing that brand story to Walmart.com, so that way we can capture the sale whenever the shopper is on our pages. I can't say that I do it all on my own. I have a sales counterpart who actually lives in Walmart.com every single day. But again, he has other aspects, with his job responsibilities. So really leveraging SKU Ninja and White Spider has helped us tremendously, and being able to stay ahead, not with just the search optimization, but how we show up. So building the content, and then providing recommendations, and not just recommendations of, hey, this is how we would want it to look. It's, hey, we can develop that for you. I can't tell you how much time it has saved me on my side. That not only do you come up with suggestions, but you also raise your hand in creating that content for us.
Yeah, thank you, Magali. I appreciate that. You know, you just said one of the biggest keywords that I know I talk with our team internally all about, and how we actually help the suppliers and sellers, and that's saving time. It's a really big deal right now, right? And Michael, I'd like to, Paul, I'm going to put you on last just in case people need to leave, so they won't miss much if they miss hearing what you got to say. But just kidding, Paul. But Michael, I think that it's, you come from the world on Amazon. Time is of the essence within that platform. You come over to Walmart. I mean, tell us a little bit about what you see as what are some words of encouragement, or maybe even some tactical advice on saving time and managing the content, the asset library, evolving with the retailer style guides and demands.
Yeah, so for that, I think the most important thing is like not to get overwhelmed. There's so many different things you could focus on for Walmart, and all of them are gonna do you good. But I think what's most important is understanding what type of brand you are, where you're trying to position yourself, and how you're trying to position yourself. And based on that, create an approach that is systemizable, meaning like it could work across all your products. So yes, there's maybe a tactic you could do for a couple of your SKUs that might help you get ranked higher, whatever that might be, or certain content you could do for certain some of your products. What we like to do is really come up with a systemized approach that could work across all your products. And yes, it might not cover everything, but over time you'll get to those other things. So what we like to do is just write out the consumer journey, and then those touch points, and then think about which ones of those you want to tackle and try to tackle each of those. So we write out the consumer journey, and then we have an approach to tackle each step. And for Walmart specifically, your content is the most important, because it's content, it's conversion rate, it's your listing quality score, it's really everything. So how you focus on that content, and what we like to do is just have a systemized approach for it. Because if you do have a systemized approach for it, you'll be able to do it across 100 listings, 1,000 listings, as opposed to being able to do something really cool for 4 or 5 listings. And I think for Walmart, that's most important. For Amazon, there's certain products you could do something for one product and it could be worthwhile, because there's SKUs on Amazon that'll do $10 million a month. There is SKUs like that on Amazon. On Walmart, it's much more about a very systemized approach that could impact overall. So just keep that in mind. But even if you don't get to everything right away, it's for us, it's a step-by-step process. First was our listing content on our rich media. Now we're working on other conversion aspects and leveling that up. So
I appreciate that perspective, Michael. And Paul, I'm gonna give you a softball, because I'm gonna make a statement that, everything we've been talking about, right? Whether it's Walmart Fulfillment Services, Walmart Connect, content style guides, content quality score, conversion increases, telling the story, all these things, attributes, everything that, just we encourage the attendees that anytime you hear about Walmart's evolution, pay attention to those, and how, to Doug's point, how do you get proactive? How do you get after it? And to Michael's point, if you already are working on these things, right, and you've got a baseline, when the new things roll out, take them seriously, because Walmart is definitely going in a specific direction. And so they're not launching things that aren't going to make sense for suppliers and sellers. And so with that being said, Paul, what else in the world could you even add to that statement? It's supposed to be a joke. You're supposed to laugh about that. But
Yeah, well, I laugh at all your jokes, Eric.
Thank you.
On the inside, at least.
Right.
No, I think Michael's spot on. I think I kind of opened with it and I'll end with it, which is this change is going to keep coming and it's going to keep accelerating. And you can look at it as this is a requirement and something kind of a box we have to tick. Or you can look at it as an opportunity of this is a new frontier. This real estate is not all staked out. It's kind of up for grabs. Move first. But to do it, you need to have a plan, and you need to understand, to Michael's point, what are the components of this, what's going to move the needle, and then just start working through it. Because all the time, I think people get paralyzed trying to do all of it at once, which, as much as we all love to do that, is not going to work. So, my closing thought is this is opportunity. So look at it that way and act accordingly.
Yep. So I would say, thank you to everyone who's attended. I think a great summary is, yes, there will be new experiences with Walmart. It will all be seamless. We've heard Doug McMillan say seamless convenience. That's where it's going. So it shouldn't surprise anyone that's staying close to Walmart and wanting to sell more. With that being said, we know that the search grid is going to expose shoppers to more products because the two places are being combined. We recognize that conversion on your product detail page is super important and will be important to the shopper as well as to Walmart's algorithms, right? We understand all that. Leveraging the page search as well as the organic positioning, making sure you're relevant for those keywords. Also, content style guides at Walmart, superbly important. That's how the algorithm eats its lunch and dinner and breakfast every single day, all the time, across millions of items. All these things are really important. And then we mentioned Walmart Fulfillment Services even, and how do you tap into that? So I think that, as these site experiences combine, just staying ahead of the curve and continuing to just become excellent, like Nagali said, using partners, especially firms and resources to make those things happen. Panelists, everybody, really appreciate your advice. Love the perspectives. I feel like that this is one of the first, it hit me the other day, one of the first webinars I've seen where we have these different types of perspectives, and it's great to get us all together, supplier. Only person we're missing this is Doug McMillan himself. Maybe he can join next time, we'll see. But just really great time. I feel like that we answered a lot of questions. Everybody that's attending, please reach out directly if you have anything. Appreciate your time and look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you.